In this video, we're going to continue working with custom drawers to create a custom group. This video is based on a written tutorial on the Odin Inspector website. However, in this video, we're going to go into a bit more detail on a couple of the steps. If you prefer text or like text in addition to video, we're going to provide a link to the tutorial in the description below. What we'll be creating is a simple fold-out group attribute and drawer that allows the user to define a custom color and will include a nice fade animation when the group is toggled. While this has some similarities to our earlier attribute drawer, there are some important differences when working with groups. For this tutorial, we'll be creating a couple of different classes. For the sake of simplicity, I'll be putting them all in the same script, but you could easily split them up. I'll also be using a simple class that contains a few fields, so we can see the results of our new attribute and drawer. The first thing we need to do is create the new attribute for the group. To do this, we can create a new class, and I'll call mine Color Foldout Group Attribute. It will need to inherit not from attribute, but from property group attribute, which itself inherits from the type attribute. Our attribute is going to need two constructors, and unfortunately, C# does not allow the passing of custom structs, such as Unity's color, to constructors. So inside the class, we need to define 4 float variables to store the RGBA color values. Next, we need to create the first of 2 constructors. The constructor will take in a string that will identify the group. The constructor also needs to call the base constructor, like so. Calling the base constructor allows Odin to get a hold of this new attribute and make the groups. The second constructor will also take in a string, but will take in 4 additional float values for the color channels. The 2 constructors will allow the user to define the color of the group the first time it is called, and then add other properties by simply passing in the group name. While we haven't defined the attribute drawer, we can demonstrate how this new attribute will be used. In the first use of the attribute, I can define the group name as well as give it a color. If I want to include other properties in the group, we simply need to provide the attribute with the group name, like so. Now, if you were to put in a different color into the attribute with the same group name further down, Odin will ignore it. But we can change that, and in our case, allow the colors to be merged. This issue can come up on any group attribute. It could be a parameter that controls alignment, spacing, labels, or almost anything. So we need to create a way for Odin to know how to handle these additional values and our assigned values from one instance to be applied to the entire group. Each attribute will have a unique solution depending on the type of parameter and desired results. But for all attributes, we can do that work by overriding the function combine_values_with. In our case, the first thing we want to do is cast the incoming parameter to the type color foldout group attribute. This will allow us to access the variables on that attribute. Then, since the RGBA values range from 0 to 1, we can use math.max to select the maximum value from either the incoming parameter or the value assigned to the current instance. For colors, this has the effect of merging the 2 colors together. With our attribute complete, we still need a drawer to define what happens when this attribute is used. So we need to create a new class, and I'll call mine Colored Foldout Group Attribute Drawer. The class will need to inherit from Odin Group Drawer, and we'll also need to add a generic argument to tell the drawer which attribute this drawer should work for. In this case, it should be Color Foldout Group Attribute. Next, we need to add a way to track the state of whether the foldout group is expanded or not. To keep things simple, we're going to start by using a boolean to track that state. I'll call that variable isOpen. Next, we need to override the draw property layout function, just like we did with other custom drawers. We're going to start by creating the basics of the drawer, and then we'll come back step by step to make things a bit prettier. The first thing we need to do is create the foldout group. We can start this with the function SyrinXEditor_GUI.foldout. This takes in a boolean that determines whether the foldout should be expanded or not, as well as a label for the foldout. This function also returns a boolean about the current state of the foldout, so we can use that to set the value or update the value of our isOpen variable, like so. It's worth noting that the foldout function doesn't actually create the foldout group, but only the label with a triangle next to it. The opening, closing, and displaying of properties will be created in the next few lines. Next, we need to draw the properties, and we can do this by looping through the properties with a for loop. We can loop from 0 to the number of children for a given property, like so. Then inside the for loop, for each child property, we need to call the draw function. Since we only want to draw the properties if the foldout is expanded, we need to wrap the for loop in an if statement that depends on the state of the foldout group. If we let the script compile, we can see that the attribute and drawer are working correctly. Now at the moment, our color feature doesn't work, and we will get to that. But before we do that, let's add a nice animation to the folding of our foldout group. We can do that by changing what the if statement is evaluating to SyrinXEditorGUI.BeginFadeGroup. This function needs an identifier key, and in this case, we can just pass in this object. The function also needs a boolean to know if the fade group is visible or not. In this case, we can pass in the state of our foldout group. Then, after the if statement, we need to mark the end of the fade group, like so. A quick test, and we can see the animation play as the foldout group is toggled open and closed. Next, let's put the foldout group inside of a box. We can do this by calling SyrinXEditorGUI.BeginBox at the top of the function, and then SyrinXEditorGUI.EndBox at the bottom of the function. We can then format the header of the group a little nicer by adding SyrinXEditorGUI.BeginBoxHeader, and then just after the foldout group is created, we can add SyrinXEditorGUI.EndBoxHeader to limit the header to include just the group label. Another quick compile, and things are starting to look a lot nicer. Our next step is to add the color to the box and to the header. To do this, we can add color by calling GUIHelper.pushColor, which takes in a color, in our case a new color. We can then access the color variables on the attribute by calling this.attribute, followed by the name of each channel. Then calling GUIHelper.popColor just after the header is created limits the color to the box and header while leaving the text inside the foldout group the default color. One more compile and we can see our new group attribute in action with the box, header, and color all working correctly. It's also worth noting that the way we built this group and the way that Odin handles it, our new group will play nicely and combine well with other groups within Odin, without us having to worry about it or give it much thought except passing the group path to the base constructor. For example, it can be combined with horizontal and vertical groups seamlessly. Before we finish, let's return to tracking whether the group is expanded or not. This is a chance to show off one more tool that Odin provides, that being the persistent system. Each time that Unity compiles the code, the value of the isOpen boolean is reset to the default value. In my case, this means the groups keep closing, which you may have noticed happening in this video. And it would be great if that could stop happening. To do this, we need to create a new variable of the type local persistent context and give it a Boolean generic argument. We can then set the value of this variable inside the initialize function. This function is called once when the instance of the drawer is instantiated. Inside the function, we can set the value of the variable equal to this.getPersistentValue with a generic Boolean argument. This function needs a key for which we can use the string colored foldout group attribute drawer.isExpanded. A second argument can be used to set the default value, which we can get from general drawer config.instance.expandFoldout by default. We then need to replace the instances of the isOpen variable with this.isExpanded.value. And lastly, since we are no longer using the isOpen variable, we can remove it from our script. Finally, letting Unity compile one last time, we can test our new functionality by adding new instances of our class and toggling the states of one of the groups. We can see that the state of the newly added instances matches the state of the last toggled group. This shows us that the persistence value is working correctly, although this is only a byproduct of the real goal of persistence, namely that this value will persist across recompiles, selection changes, going in and out of play mode, and opening and closing Unity. This is very useful since you don't have to open or close the same foldouts again and again when those things happen. So there you go, we've shown you how to create a custom group using Odin Inspector. We hope that was interesting or better yet useful for your project. And until next time, happy game designing.